What is good, YouTube? It is your boy Benji, and we are indeed back balling. Hey, man, we got my boy over here, Hoops Reference. He's going ahead and dropped the top five most overrated players in the NBA right now, which is a list I think I definitely want to see and debate and probably get angry at. But go ahead and follow Hoops HQ on all these social media platforms. More videos coming soon. Let's go ahead and get straight to it. Shout out to Hoops Reference. I want to see this, man. Let's go.
Debate and controversy. To a degree, it can be argued that it's a waste of time to harp on whether a player should be ranked a few spots higher or lower, and if
Right.
they barely get placed above or below where they should be.
Because a lot of people are upset about the NBA releasing the top 100 list.
There are a
So-
few examples of players very glaringly being overrated, and that brings us to today's video. Today we'll be looking at ESPN's player ranking list, and we'll be discussing the 5 players that I believe are the most overrated on it. Last
Interesting.
video I
I
actually
see a lot of
ranked
Booker.
the players
What's
on
going
the
on?
opposite end of the spectrum that I believed were the most underrated on the list, so today we're doing the opposite. To clarify, these are not players that I believe are bad by any means, but when compared to others ranked behind them, their placement just isn't right. If you want to read through ESPN's list, it will also be linked in the description. Before we start though, make sure to that being said, let's begin. The first player that got pretty heavily overrated on ESPN's list that we'll be discussing today
Wow.
is Jayson Tatum of the Boston Celtics.
I wanna hear
who was
this.
ranked 7th overall. Jayson Tatum has been a player that the media have been waiting to crown for years now, and over the last 2 seasons, he has begun to live up to those superstar expectations, but there just isn't a world where Tatum is the 7th best basketball player right now. Tatum played a massive role in the Celtics making their way to the NBA Finals this year. That much is absolutely true. This wasn't, however, a case of him carrying a heavy load, dragging his team there, and I feel like the boost that he's getting from that run treats him as if it was. The Celtics were a strong team, top to bottom, in their rotation, and everybody played their part.
They did have a lot of role
And
playing.
Tatum and Brown were the ones leading
Right.
scoring-wise, but
They
the
were.
players around them played a vital role performing.
I want to hear it.
Hey,
Hit me with the
won't you please
ads.
help us resave the dodos? We're really counting on your support.
Say the dodos. You
And
talking
absolutely dominantly defensively, helping the Celtics rank as the top-ranked defensive unit for the season.
Right.
Tatum is a very good perimeter shot creator, but his efficiency in the playoffs nosedived inside the
It did.
three-point arc weirdly, and his finishing ability is still a work in progress. I know the Celtics destroyed the Brooklyn Nets head-to-head, but I still don't think Tatum should be ranked higher than someone like, say, Kevin Durant, and even a player like Jimmy Butler shined brighter at the same position in the postseason. Tatum is a fringe top 10 talent, being ranked like a bona fide superstar, even though on the biggest stage in the finals, he was kind of a no-show at times. The next player that got overrated.
Bro, I don't think folks understand how, like, the world of basketball works. The playoffs is the most pivotal time for a team to hone in on what a team does well and what they do bad. So obviously you are going to see some superstars numbers who may plummet. If I'm a team coaching against Jayson Tatum and the Celtics, you know the man to go to is Jayson Tatum. So we're going to make it tough. If you're coaching against the Brooklyn Nets, everyone nosedived on Kevin Durant and act like he was not Kevin Durant. If you are coaching against the Brooklyn Nets, you know what they do is they play isolation ball. They just want to get to a pick and roll, a 1-4 flat, and let their 2 superstars work. So when you have a lot of guys who play a role, spot up, shoot, and catch and finish, then and aren't too well at creating their own shots, what I got to do is hone in on the guys that do create shots. Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving. We're going to make it tough for them every time they touch the ball, and we're going to get into the gaps. So Kevin Durant can't take that one dribble pull up because I have another defender waiting for him. He can't take 2 dribbles and go to the basket because I have defenders waiting for him. We're going to make everything tough. So you are going to see some guys whose numbers may just plummet. And yeah, sure, we got guys that step up to the occasion. But I think it's, if you actually watch how a lot of these guys get defended, it's kind of, there's a reason why this stuff happens. But now we got Devin Booker is now overrated, even though in the 10th position.
Devin Booker
I want to hear
of the
this.
Suns, who got placed 10th overall. Booker is another very good player who I think gets a major benefit of the doubt because of how much of a well-oiled machine his son's team is. A lot of my thoughts process here honestly relates to my thought process about Tatum just now in how he's being ranked in the established superstar range ahead of some actual superstars that have been performing at this level a lot longer on teams that aren't as well balanced as the Suns are right now. Booker, for a long time, was underrated in the league because he was the lone star on a rebuilding team that lost a lot. Then Chris Paul came to town, the team brought in some rock-solid veterans to round out the rotation, and they immediately became championship contenders. And I don't think all of that makes Booker individually a much better player than he was before, so we need to find the middle ground here. In the playoffs, the Suns were still able to get the job done in the first round, with Booker missing 3 games in that series. And against Dallas, Booker crumbled in both of the team's closeout games,
He did fold.
15 points in games 6 and 7.
But
while
does that mean he's
shooting
overrated?
29% from the field in those games.
You're not allowed to
The
have bad
Suns
games
were
that
the
makes you
1
overrated?
seed and the clear better team. But Booker and Chris Paul both choked the series away.
Yes.
And Booker has seemingly been rewarded in spite of this being the case.
But that doesn't, just because, like, all right, guys, let's take a look at this right now. Let's take a look at this right now. All right. 2022 playoffs. It's the Pelicans, right? All right, so he didn't play 3 games. He got hurt. 25, 31. In the return game from injury, he had 13 points. Okay, yeah, whatever. You know what I mean? But he was still plus 9. And they won. So, I mean, 25, 31. Now, let's look against when they played Dallas. The numbers should have dropped, but we had 23. Okay, you're plus 6. 30 points, that's plus 21. 18, solid game, but you still shot pretty well from the field, but y'all lost. Okay, yeah. 18 points to get you a win. Then you had 35 points, 28, 19, and in your last game you played subpar when y'all got blown out and you had 11 points. Now, in a closeout game, absolutely. That is a game that you're supposed to ball out. But because you had a game where you had 11 points, that means you're overrated? You just had 19, 28, 35, and 30 in the same series? But you're overrated because you had one game where you had 11 points? Brother, you should have stepped up to the plate. You know what time it was. Big-time players make big-time plays when it matters most. But because you didn't play amazing and the Suns in themselves did not play well, period, that means you are an overrated player and you're not a top 10 player in the NBA even the league wants to rate you as one. That's crazy.
The next player on ESPN's list that I believe got pretty overrated is James Harden of the Philadelphia 76ers, who was ranked 11th overall. Any of you who have been watching my channel for a while now know how much this one hurts me to say, because
I'm talking about guys with max contracts too.
Harden guys for a while, but there's just no way to defend this kind of a ranking at this point in time. Harden has been one of the league's premier superstar talents
For sure.
and was consistently in the MVP conversations for years. But last season, we began
he didn't have a
to
good
see
season.
that player fade. Ever since Harden's hamstring injuries that came about during the 2021 postseason, he hasn't quite been able to replicate that quick first step on blow-bys or the same separation on his dribble moves that once made him an unstoppable scoring force, and that hampered his overall production last year. Now, do I believe that
21, 7, and 10. for, I guess, any player, those are very, very, very good numbers. For James Harden, we're used to you having seasons where you're averaging 27, 29, 29, 29, 30, 36. We're used to that. So, by you averaging 21, you aren't James Harden. But, I mean, that makes
washed. No, not at all.
Him not.
He still has unbelievable court vision and a knack for setting up his teammates for easy buckets. Having ranked second in assists per game last season, he still scored 22 points per game as well, so it's not like he's not scoring at all. And he and Embiid paired together.
And you also got to understand, bro, you came to the team with a guy who led the league in scoring.
The league in terms of net rating, but Harden absolutely.
You got to find your niche.
Bounce back year this upcoming season.
But he does, though.
After what we saw from him last year,
he could have played better.
He's probably closer to being a top 20 guy than he is being a top 10 guy like he's ranked here. But if he was able to rest that hamstring properly this offseason and he returns healthier, then maybe he'll work his way back up. The next player that got overrated on ESPN's list is Marcus Smart of the Boston Celtics, who was ranked 34th overall. I mentioned this in my video yesterday about the underrated players, but I feel like it has become very easy to hate on star players on bad teams, and alternatively, guys who are the third or fourth options on winning teams have become very easy to overrate comparatively. Obviously, role players performing in those roles are imperative to the success of teams, but just because they're doing what needs to be done from them on a lesser scale doesn't mean they should be ranked above players who are more talented and have been thrust into bigger roles, but can't lead their teams to wins at the
massage settings.
When you live with
Man, I got hit with the ads.
Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis, your day can
this point in time. Smart was the winner of the Defensive Player of the Year award this
He
year,
was Defensive Player of the Year.
which was debatable in and of itself, but
I agree.
there's no denying that he's been one of the best role players in the league for a while.
I can agree.
The problem comes about when you start putting him over actual star talent like we see here. Guys like Darius Garland, LaMelo Ball, Fred VanVleet, and a few others, who are all legit.
But here's the emphasis to that. You got a guy who was Defensive Player of the Year. Let's take a look. This is an argument we can make. I know Darius Garland was killing. Darius Garland was putting up 21 a game and 8 on a fringe playoff team. Marcus Smart was putting up 12 and 5 on a team that did. They were like top 3 in the East, if I'm not mistaken. And then LaMelo's putting up 20 and okay, I get it. And yeah, they're averaging about the same amount of steals, same amount of blocks. I can agree.
Legitimately all-star caliber players who need to do more for their teams were ranked behind Marcus on this list. And while I do understand the value of defensive impact, I think this is going overboard with it.
I agree.
Because no NBA franchise is going to trade their star player for Marcus Smart's.
I agree.
And finally, the last player that I believe got a bit overrated on ESPN's ranking list is Klay Thompson of the Golden State Warriors, who was ranked 37th overall. Before his return this season, Klay had missed 2 full years of play, and obviously everyone was incredibly happy to see him back out there on the court. Before his injury, Klay was a sharpshooting maestro, knocking down threes historically efficiently, and while he was able to still produce at a solid rate after his return, the fact of the matter is that there was a lot of frustrations with his play throughout the year as well. Klay averaged a little over 20 points per game this year, which is definitely good, but he shot below 40% from 3 for the first time in his career.
His
decision-making was a nightmare.
He hadn't played in
There
2
were
years.
countless times where Clay was out there seeking opportunities for himself to try to build a rhythm, but instead was shooting the Warriors out of games.
He was.
Because of
Wow,
this,
with
the
some shot
overall
attempts.
success of the team often took a hit with him out on the court as
They
well.
won a championship.
And the Warriors were actually 3 points worse with him on the court in the regular season, and then an insane 11.7 points worse with him on the court in the playoffs. Clay here is being ranked amongst all-star talent and borderline all-star talent, and quite simply, his days in that tier are probably over. And with that being said, that's all I have for you today. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below who you think are some of the most overrated players right now. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.
What do y'all think about this list, man? I think some valid points were made. It's really just going to determine how these guys play. That's going to really be the end-all, be-all, I think, when it comes to how we select the ratings and who's winning the ratings. But y'all let me know what y'all think. Stay tuned to the next video.